Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video, and today it's another movie review. The second movie review in the last 3 videos. Today we're going to be having a look at the brand new and very highly anticipated The Batman. That's right, the latest Batman movie is officially here. And going into this movie, it was an interesting one because going into this movie, beforehand, I'd seen any reviews of the movie that from people that had already seen it. The main consensus I got from it was it's either amazing or terrible, and there's no in between. They think it's either really good or really bad. There's no middle ground. So going into the movie, I thought, how funny would it be if in about 3 hours' time, when the movie's over, I come out and think it actually was smack bang in the middle. It wasn't great or bad, terrible. Guess what? That's actually what I ended up thinking of it. So yeah, The Batman, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's average at best, in my opinion. It's just average. So, what is it about? Well, it is about Batman having to work out different riddles from the Riddler, who is our main villain for the movie. The Riddler hides his identity of who he actually is for the majority of the movie, up until the last, half an hour of the movie. Then we finally get to see the Riddler. But the Riddler is wanting to expose the corruption of people in Gotham City, politicians, the police, everyone. He's wanting to expose all the corruption within Gotham City. And he keeps targeting specific people to kill and then leave a message on them specifically for Batman, for him to work out the riddle that the Riddler has left to figure out who the Riddler's next victim is. So the movie begins with the mayor of Gotham City watching the news as the election for the mayor of Gotham City is coming up again. And the Riddler sneaks into his house without him even knowing it and manages to hide there for quite a while and then kills the mayor of Gotham. I think this was a really, really good opening scene because you don't know who this is. You don't even know that this is the Riddler yet. You think this could be anyone. You have no idea who it is. But yeah, the mayor is killed by the Riddler. And that's the main theme of the movie. The Riddler kills someone, puts a riddle on them, have the police or Batman find the victim, because every single time he kills someone, he has an envelope that says "to the Batman" on it. So Batman opens the envelope and it's a card, and the riddle is inside the card, and Batman has to work out what the riddle means to find his next victim. So I think it's a very clever premise of how the Riddler goes about doing committing his crimes, and how he's allowing Batman to be the one to figure out who's next. Because the police aren't very useful in this movie. Although, are the police useful in any Batman movie, if we're being honest? Batman has to use all of his detective knowledge up here to figure out all of the clues to the next crime. And along the way, Catwoman joins in, who is played by Zoe Kravitz, and she does okay, I guess, as Catwoman. She doesn't really offer a great deal to the story, apart from her and Batman just happen to be investigating the very same crime. Batman investigating it because it's a crime, and Catwoman investigating it because it's one of her because it's her roommate that got kidnapped and then killed. So along the way, Batman meets the Penguin and Falcone. And the Penguin is played by Colin Farrell, and you would not be able to tell it's him. Looking at the Penguin, you would not be able to tell that this was Mr. Oswald Cobblepot. So the way Batman tracks down the Penguin is with the Batmobile. And if I'm being honest, the Batmobile, it's actually nothing special to look at. This is probably the one of the lesser impressive looking Batmobiles that we've seen. Hell, the Batmobile in Arkham Knight, the Arkham Knight game, looks better than this one. And that came out 7 damn years ago. Now, Commissioner Gordon's only role in this movie is to cover for Batman whenever it looks like Batman's doing something he probably shouldn't be. And he's actually played by Jeffrey Wright, which... Is this the same Jeffrey Wright that plays Felix Leiter in the most recent James Bond movies? Because if so, his hairline made one hell of a comeback. He barely had any hair in No Time to Die, and that was only 5 months ago. And now he's got full head of hair again. But another scene I really, really enjoy is right at the start. It's just after the very opening scene of the Riddler killing the mayor of Gotham. It's how they introduced Batman to this movie. So there's a guy on a subway train with a bunch of people in clown masks, black and white clown masks, on the train as well, who definitely have targeted him as the next person they're going to beat up. So he tries to run away from them. It doesn't go well. He doesn't get very far, and they grab hold of him. And then they hear some footsteps coming from the darkness of the subway station to reveal Batman walk out from within the darkness. I think that was a very good way of introducing Batman. Because of course his suit is all black, so you wouldn't be able to see him in pitch black, in the pitch dark. And then you just see him emerge from the darkness and then beat the crap out of all of the criminals, because that's what Batman does. So the Riddler chooses his victims very carefully. And one of his victims just so happens to be Bruce Wayne, which of course is Batman. But unfortunately, Alfred ends up being the one to open the envelope instead of Bruce Wayne, and it blows up. It was some C4 and almost kills him, but not quite. But after this, Batman learns of of Thomas and Martha Wayne, his mom and dad's, very dark secrets that the Riddler exposes. The fact that Thomas Wayne actually had some dirty, dark secrets that he'd been hiding. And the fact that Martha Wayne had been in a lot of mental institutions over the years. And they didn't want that getting out. So once Batman saw what the Riddler was going to expose about his own mom and dad, he gets out of there so quickly that Commissioner Gordon doesn't even notice him leave. Which leads Bruce Wayne to go to Falcone and ask him what happened. Now, Thomas Patterson's Bruce Wayne in this movie, at the very start, he has black all around his eyes, and you just know that the 12-year-old Twilight fangirls were frothing at the mouth when they saw that. Although the mood between Batman's mood and the way he speaks and feels over the movie and the way Bruce Wayne does kind of look the same. You can't really distinguish that difference between Batman and Bruce Wayne. Whereas in the previous Batman movies, Batman acted a lot different from Bruce Wayne. But they don't act too differently here. So Bruce Wayne asks Falcone what happened, and Falcone tells him that Thomas Wayne had the threat of being exposed of his dark secrets. So he tried to pay this journalist off to not reveal these secrets. But the journalist just ain't having it. So, in a moment of desperation, Thomas Wayne goes to Falcone and asks him, can you get rid of him? So Falcone ends up killing this journalist. and everything is covered up. But then Bruce Wayne learns that Falcone also organised the killing of Thomas and Martha Wayne the night they died. That was also organised by him. And it just so happens Catwoman is also after Falcone, as she happens to be his daughter. So she's chasing him down, trying to kill him. Luckily, Batman gets there just in time to stop her from doing so, because as we know, Batman does not kill. Even though he definitely has killed at some point, let's be honest. So when they bring Falcone outside, he gets shot by the Penguin. And the final riddle that the Riddler had given to Batman was to bring the next victim into the light. And there happens to be a lamppost flashing on and off. So Batman looks at it, then which shows you that the lamppost is directly opposite the Riddler, where the Riddler has been the whole time. But by the time Batman and the police arrive in this building, the Riddler has already left. So throughout the movie, the Riddler is live streams and posts to social media his what he's up to, which I think it's an interesting way of the villain using social media to communicate with Gotham City, but I feel it's a bit cringe because have you noticed so many movies nowadays use social media as part of their plot points? Like, did you see the trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, where Leatherface is standing in a bus with his chainsaw out, ready to just slaughter everyone inside, and they all pull their phones out, start recording him, and say, "You're gonna get cancelled if you do anything." Like, how cringe is that? That's what it kind of felt like here. I get it. It's an interesting way of doing it, where the Riddler's just live streaming, but we've seen how villains can broadcast their message to Gotham City through other means, like Bane did in the Dark Knight Rises, which that movie turns 10 years old this year, so it's the 10-year anniversary of the end of the Dark Knight trilogy. So they finally do find the Riddler, as he happens to be sitting in a diner not too far from the building he'd just left. And the lair that the Riddler has been in the whole time does look very much like what you would expect the Riddler's lair to be. So the police all arrive in the diner, they arrest the Riddler, and we finally get to see who the Riddler is. We finally get to see his face. And he literally looks like the YouTuber Michael Reeves. Trust me, if you've watched the movie and you know who Michael Reeves is, you should know what I mean by that. He literally looks like the YouTuber Michael Reeves. I do not think of a early 20s nerdy-looking guy for the Riddler. I also don't expect the Riddler to lose his cool at any point. Whereas the Riddler in this movie does lose his cool. Not what I expect from the Riddler. And if I'm being honest, the reveal of the Riddler's true identity and who he actually is and what he really looks like, this is the worst part of the movie for me. I did not like this reveal whatsoever. I think the way the movie kept its suspense and tension up by showing us the Riddler in a full like bodysuit to where you can't see you can't tell who he is, was way better. The Riddler was the best character in the movie up until this point. This is where the Riddler is no longer a great character. Very disappointing. So he gets arrested and put in Arkham, as you'd expect all the criminals to be. So he has one final victim that he's made a riddle for to Batman, and Batman realizes that this next victim is himself. Batman is the final victim the Riddler has. So Batman heads off to Arkham to have a conversation with the Riddler, and the Riddler gives him one more riddle, which the riddle is telling Batman that he has 7 different vans, all parked around Gotham City with explosives inside, and they will go off one by one. Which is exactly what happens. All of these 7 vans do explode one by one, which ends up flooding Gotham City, and some of the Riddler's henchmen then get themselves into Madison Square Gardens, which is where the election for the Gotham mayor is being held, which is where most of the people in Gotham City are at the time. So the Riddler's henchmen set up with snipers and start shooting at the elites and civilians. One of them even hits one of the candidates for mayor of Gotham, but she doesn't die. She manages to survive. Batman manages to arrive there at Madison Square Gardens, starts beating the crap out of all the criminals and the Riddler's henchmen. Then one of them he's punching really hard, and if he doesn't stop, he'll kill him. So Catwoman and Commissioner Gordon manage to get him to stop. And he asks this Riddler henchman, "Who are you?" And the Riddler henchman says, "I am vengeance." And that strikes a chord with Batman, because that's what he introduced himself as at the very start of the movie. When he was asked, "Who are you?" Batman says, "I am vengeance." So Batman realizes that he can't fight for vengeance anymore after this guy says that. He just suddenly has an epiphany out of nowhere. And instead starts trying to save the civilians of Gotham and try to airlift the injured ones out of hospital. A big part of it is people people within the movie just despising Bruce Wayne and Batman, telling Bruce Wayne that he's not allowed to feel sadness or anything like that because of how rich he is and how rich he grew up. He's not allowed to feel anything about his mom and dad being murdered literally in front of him. And the Riddler even tells him this because the two of him, the Riddler and Bruce Wayne, became orphans at the very same time, but the Riddler didn't get the luxury life that Bruce Wayne got growing up. So it didn't go too well for the Riddler, which is why he personally targeted Bruce Wayne and exposed all the corruption, including of Thomas and Martha Wayne. So the movie ends with Catwoman leaving Gotham City to go do her own thing, asking Batman to come with her, but Batman knows Gotham City is where he is needed. And they are both on motorcycles and they both part ways. And then that's how the movie ends. Last thing to mention is Batman and Catwoman, you can't have a movie with the two of them in it without flirting and the occasional making out session. It's just what they do. But yeah, what did I like about this movie? Well, the first 2 scenes of the movie, as I've already explained, they're very good. The cinematography in this movie is pretty decent. A lot of great looking camera shots. The overall aesthetic of the movie, how it's like really dark and gritty. I do like that. But some of the lines in the movie are just pure cringe. Commissioner Gordon really should be doing more, considering he's the most important police officer in Gotham City. The Riddler is definitely the best part of the movie and then the worst part of the movie. Before his identity is revealed of who he really is and what he looks like, great. But the second he is revealed, and we actually get to see what he looks like and what his name is and who he is, his character is effectively terrible to me, in my opinions, from then onwards. Great for most of the movie, but then terrible when the big reveal actually happens. And this movie went on for 3 hours. Like, half an hour longer than The Dark Knight Rises. And you can feel this movie goes on for 3 hours. You really do feel this movie goes on for that long. Because it's very, very slow at the beginning to establish that all these riddles are for Batman to solve. So overall, my final verdict for The Batman is a 6.5 out of 10. Yeah, lower than the Uncharted movie that I reviewed last month. I believe the Uncharted movie was better than this. This really did not feel like an amazing Batman movie. Like, what were the odds of that? It's either a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. Me. It's a 6.5. Yep, smack bang in the middle. Obviously, well, no, 5 out of 10 would be smack bang in the middle, but you get what I mean. 6.5 is still not great, is it? But that's just what I think of the movie. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. Have you watched the movie? If so, what do you think of it? Do you think it's better than what I think? Worse than what I think? Or maybe the same as what I think? Please let me know in the comments, and until next time, catch you later.